Why don't more other African countries tend to have, one, their own airline, and two, a network within Africa?
Well, it's not a very, well, as you might remember, many years back we used to have Air Afrique.
Yes, that was from West Africa.
This was primarily a West African consortium, and then we used to have East African Airways. And,
by the way, yes.
And the standalone was Ethiopian Airlines.
There we go.
One, it's not a cheap affair. Of course, buying the plane, building and maintaining an airport and all the infrastructure around it. It's not a cheap affair.
But Collins, but the Chinese have built everyone and his grandmother an airport these days, boss.
There.
Yes,
we are getting there.
and then aircraft. I mean, everyone is leasing now.
Yes.
And there's so many, we see on YouTube, there's so many airline graveyards. In fact, once they finished with they're
dumped somewhere.
Yeah, they're told, you know what, give it to an African. Huh?
Yes, or they take it down to Atlanta, hand it over to Boeing, and Boeing arranges its way of passing it. Yeah, so that's how it happens. Now, coming back to that initial question, why don't... well, many countries have tried. I must say, of late, they're really doing a good thing out of this. Air Rwanda, for one, is a very good airline. Ethiopian, for years, has maintained to be number one. I'm very happy and proud to say that Kenya Airways has just gotten out of that trap, which was the cash trap. And lately, they've been posting some very attractive numbers. Yeah. So, one, I think African airlines either were born prematurely by then, and most of them fizzled out and died. Then we have the vices in Africa. Air Afrique, for example, was mainly killed by politics, and to some extent, things that we talk about each day, stuff like corruption, and these are things that ail us as a society that we need to work on and maybe resolve in this and in broader dimensions.
Why is it taking so long to Africanize? I'm not talking about in terms of crew. Even crew, by the way, yes. But a ground crew, because we talk about like you, the engineers,
yes,
and all the other service personnel. There I see a lot of Miros.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But in terms of
cockpit
presence, one, and then management, why is it taking so long to Africanize, bro?
It's expensive. First of all, even to train as a pilot, you start with a PPL license. But then when you want to get to commercial pilot license, what they call the CPL, it's a very expensive affair.
Right.
So it's just like probably more expensive than taking somebody to university, probably in the UK.
Yes.
So since it's not within reach of many people, it's not given.
Right.
Secondly, because of the births and deaths of many African airlines, whenever those deaths occur, our pilots get jobless. And they've got to feed their families. So to some extent, most of them have also flown to other countries. If you go, for example, to the UAE, you'll find many Kenyan pilots, for example, who used to work for Kenya Airways, now over there.
Yes.
Now, when that void is left, I mean, if you got a good employer, a good income, why change employers, really, if you're happy wherever you are? So to fill that void, or rather what we call to backfill the vacancies left by this migration, we need to get this, experts to assist as we wait for the younger ones to be trained through.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and I see that because obviously, we see that, you are by academic qualification, you're an aeronautical engineer.
Yes.
Now, you've just said, so you worked for KQ. So you're one of those people, because, obviously, I mean, I know, right? How was it? So you were the KQ engineer based in the desert?
I was KQ, well, let me fall back a bit.
Yes.
How did I end up being an engineer?
Let's start there.
First, because... By the time I qualified to go to university, what they had at Nairobi University was electrical engineering.
Indeed.
And there was no... Currently, we can talk about Technical University of Kenya.
Yes.
That's offering an aviation program and an aeronautical program. They've got a department handling that specifically.
Technical University of Kenya.
Technical took here in Nairobi. Okay. What we used to call our time Poly.
Oh, Kenya Poly.
Kenya Polytechnic.
Yeah,
so... at our time, or rather when I was to join campus, we didn't have any of these institutions offering this course. So I did my aeronautical engineering training in France.
Yes.
In the aeronautical capital of Europe, which is Toulouse.
Yes.
This is Airbus, where they assemble Airbus.
Yes.
And it was a deliberate government program to have Kenyan engineers, true to your question, that would come back because they already had the program to purchase Airbuses.
Oh, yes, of course. Yes. They had signed the deal.
So we were taken to take over from the people who would be maintaining and running this aircraft that we bought. In fact, the maiden flight of Harambee Stars, I actually flew that maiden flight back to Kenya.
Wow. Now, so you studied in France, in Toulouse, for how long, brother?
Toulouse, 1 year linguistic, 3 years in Nice, southern France, back to Toulouse, another 3 years, that's 7 years.
Okay. So, bonjour.
Bonjour, bonsoir en fait.
Oh.
Tu parles français?
So, no, let's stop there, man. I just, comme ça va. I did the French primary school, then it dropped. Well, then we went to local schools.
What a lie. You speak it, man.
Listen.
You got the right accent.
Thank you, bro. Yeah. Listen, so I've got to ask then, brother. Why were you that sharp pencil? Because somebody listening would be like, damn, this guy was picked and he was clearly the cream of the crop. Let's take this guy and let's make him the best version of his damn self that we can be because his country needs him.
This talent.
I like that. Where did Collins Oneko go to high school?
Cardinal Otunga High School, Mosocho. By then one of the best schools in the country.
Indeed.
It was part of the Ivy League, Alliance, Mangu, Cardinal, Shimo Latewa.
Indeed.
And at times St. Mary's Yala.
Yes, exactly. And Marseille.
The schools.
And so Kolo, at what point are you sitting? Some would say we are children of privilege. And at what point are we sitting and I say, I want to be, because you're a Gen X, like myself. And when do we decide, you know what, I want to fix jet planes. I want to be an aeronautical engineer. I want to design them. That is my future. Where are we? Are we in primary school? Are we in a secondary school? There's one day you're a child and then you're taken on a plane ride somewhere and you're like, yeah, this is the thing.
If you may, mine was a bit of a unique thing.
Right.
It's like they say, destiny is destiny.
Indeed.
Whichever way you rephrase that.
Right.
I was selected to do architecture at the University of Nairobi.
Right.
And as we were waiting to join campus, this ad came up in the Daily Nation, was in the Standard. And I applied. And the French government, the French embassy invited us for an interview at the French embassy. The only interview I've attended in my life where the results were given the same day in the evening. We knew we were 14 of us, and I know them all by name. We were flying to France. We were told to go back home, get our suitcases sorted out, come back, and we were sent to Kenya Institute of Administration by then.
Wow.
Now we call it the School of Government, Government Studies or something.
Yes.
Yeah. So that was how it happened. And absolute transparency, and I found myself in this lot flying for the first time to Europe, reaching Paris, and the James Hadley chase, Gouloirs, cigarettes, and all these things.
There we go. Oh,
sophistication.
Yes.
So how did I make that choice? I had to choose between aeronautical engineering and architecture. A young man of 19 years. Your guess is as good as mine. Which one would I choose?
Of aeronautical engineering.
And to go to France.
There we go. Of course. Now, 20 years later, you see what I did there. Any regret?
There's a transformation that happens to me 5 years after docking into Kenya, after working for Kenya, because I worked.
No. We're going to go back to that.
Yes.
I'm talking about now, because now it's
20 years later.
See, we've done a total recall. So now, as you speak here today, obviously it's not 20 years later. Watcha. But I'm just saying. I'm just saying that when you reflect now today, you're like, hey, Maze, enyewe, hey. Remember boarding that plane to Toulouse, and then we landed, and then now fast forward to now. Maybe I could have, should have, but you're like, no
regrets, chief.
Regrets,
chief.
I like that.
Exposure.
Okay.
There's nothing in life as good as exposure. You get to meet different people in their own backyards,
Right.
people that you'd seen in another light
Right.
in your own country.
Right.
For the first time, I was seeing a white man driving a bus.
There we go.
And I was wondering,
yes.
hey,
Yes.
back in Kenya, you see them back left being driven to offices. And I
Right.
was seated there.
Right.
Great eye-opener. Diversity. A lot of diversity happens in Europe.
Right.
You meet different people.
Right.
And you find that our social behaviors locally
Yeah.
aren't much like what happens in Europe. People, we talk about cultured. They can tell you no without you realizing
Yes,
you're
exactly.
being told no.
Yes.
And that we had to step ourselves up to adapt and still face the academic challenges that we had. So looking back right now, I would say probably that was the biggest gift God ever gave me. It
Exposure
opened exposure
to culture.
exposure to languages,
Yes, yes.
exposure to different people,
Right.
getting to know certain things, for example, that were happening already in Europe, that Africans, I would talk about HIV probably at some stage.
Yes, yes.
You know, by the time I'm reaching in France,
Right.
we are talking about 1980.
Yes.
HIV is already well known in Western Europe.
Yes, but it's
in
not
Africa,
it hasn't hit
zilch.
us a good one.
Nothing.
Now, speaking of exposure and culture, engineer, okay, and like you said, yes, it's the 80s, yeah. Now, there's the Tomboya airlift of the 60s.
Yes.
So our parents in that generation, okay, they went to Stato, okay, so what they experienced in these United States of America, they came back and they're like, you know what, 9 times out of 10 I will try my very best to make sure that my child doesn't go there for education. Because it's racism. Remember that one, it was still tight. Hey,
You can say that again.
Sisi hapa wa Kenya tunaona ule ameenda majuu. Now people are going there a dime a dozen. Now Donald Trump is trying to turn back the clock. Could it be said, and Baba, I'm being the devil's advocate now,
Yes.
so let's be very sure.
Yeah.
It's like you have, how you have spoken right now, there's an African who's listening to you
Yes.
and saying, damn, it is those experiences that I want to share. Could it be said it's because you guys were literally more or less, obviously France had colonies and you are not the first black person to be there, let's be clear.
Not, yeah.
But the point is, you guys were also a niche educated class. So you might also be considered pathfinders. All right. But it's because of people like you that now the floodgates of the they call them immigrants, in those particular jurisdictions, that now they're like, this is too much. Is it because of your experiences and your stories that people want to go there and experience those things? Have you ever thought about it that way, bro?
Absolutely.
And do you blame yourself? That's what I wanted to ask.
Absolutely. We did actually very well.
Yes.
Because even this time when certain nations are questioning the numbers of Africans in those countries,
Yes.
it goes without saying that, yes, we have contributed towards the development and the growth of those countries. That's totally undisputable. Could
you went there to study and then you've come back.
Well,
What are you
summer holidays.
Oh,
I was speaking
okay.
grapes, and they make their wine out
Right,
of that.
exactly.
Some of us were working in institutions aged,
Indeed.
bathing them
Yes,
and
yes.
cleaning them
Yes.
and doing some very honorable work.
Indeed.
That other people really don't appreciate.
Yes.
So by so doing, and don't forget that when we were there, we also opened certain doors, just like you are inferring.
Right.
We were examples. We were models. So many people came because we had been there, and
Sure.
some of us, like myself,
Yes.
who came back, were doing well. So it's like, it was a big encouragement to the youth
Right.
and those who intended to go there.
Buzz.
Yeah, by them.
No, okay, but then now when you look at it now, though, Collins, what are your thoughts? Because now there's hostility. with is it familiarity? Because I'm about to shrub that breeds contempt. Is that it?
Could I say now, as opposed to then?
If you could advise the Kenyan embassy in France, what would you tell them? Or you go here to Harambee Avenue.
I would tell them absolutely go for scholarships that should help Kenyan students or Kenyan youth go or academicians go to those countries, to France for that matter. Why? There are certain disciplines where we still need that kind of exposure.
I like that.
There are certain, like say, if you were to do nuclear science or whatever, yes, we got a department probably at the Nairobi University.
Right.
But do you have the labs? Do you have the equipment? Do you have peer discussions at that level of achievement? Probably not. In Europe, you'd get these in numbers. So not only do you get the technical aspect and backup, you get an array of people with experience, academic papers, and insights that actually build you much easier. So yes, I would still encourage our embassies to work towards getting us opportunities for our young people to go over there just for that exposure. But they also have a role to play.
We've got to discuss that story about the diaspora.
Yeah.
That one you and I were going to have a deeper chat.
Excellent.
But back to the question at hand, brother. So now 1 year to learn the language, then 3 years you deep dive into aeronautical engineering, because you know what, you're in Tulu and Airbus have signed a deal with the Kenyan government, Kenya Airways, and you are bringing back. I remember that Airbus by the Harambee Star.
Harambee Star.
Yes. So you come back with it.
Yeah.
So you are obliged to work for Kenya Airways for how long, brother?
I had to work for Kenya for 3 years. I did 5. There's what you call the government security bond.
Yes.
But I must also say, the Kenya government was very nice to us at that time.
Yes.
We didn't have these obligations of really having to discharge that bond. I have got my colleagues who came back and went back to work in Europe. And yes, they are contributing to our development. They remit funds, they remit those foreign currencies, Forex, and we are happy with them. So yes, I was bonded and I worked for the Kenya government. I worked at Kenya Airways for 5 years.
Right. So there you are. So obviously you're based at the airport. Embakasi. Thank you. I was about to call it Isli. No, Embakasi.
Embakasi.
And then I knew it started with an E. and then, brother, so during that time you travel all over the world. So you're like stationed because the aircraft flies, for those who doesn't know.
Yes.
So like for example, they fly to London.
Yes.
There's a local airline engineer in that particular jurisdiction.
Correct.
I've always wanted to know, why don't they just get somebody from there? It's like you traveling with your mechanic.
Our time still, I would still say that we used to have the flight engineers.
Bus.
Okay.
Those are the ones who are inside the aircraft.
Inside the aircraft, there used to be this guy seated in the middle, first officer on the right, and the captain on the left as you walk towards the cockpit. And there was this guy who was seated here in the middle reading instruments. That was the flight engineer. He would be able to take notes on performances of the many parts of the aircraft. Reaching the ground, you'd hand this over to the ground technicians. Now, mainly, you'd find that the station manager in London would be Kenyan. But most of the engineers serving it on the ground would be English people. Or if you went to France, French. You'd not miss that flight engineer working together with them, and probably 1 or 2 special people being there. Just a matter of gaining confidence and giving the passengers, yes, we are also there. So I don't think it was a matter of, if it was expense, they were using the locals, really. But we also needed to have ours, like station managers and the like. Back here at home, as you know, we've got a whole facility for repairing the planes. That dome that you always see if you fly over Embakasi.
The hangars.
Hangars, So there are certain scheduled maintenances that could be done in Nairobi. But for engines, we had to fly them for Boeing to Addis Ababa.
Even then?
Even then.
Wow.
Because they had all the licensed engineers and the equipment. These things cost a hell lot of money.
Right.
And just to amortize that, some of them, you have to spread those costs.
Yes.
You have to, they have to have many customers so that investment makes sense.
Right.
So even by then, the repair work was being done in Addis.
For both Boeing and Airbus?
No, for Boeing.
For Boeing?
Yeah, those are Boeing engines.
Okay.
Yeah.
Of course.
Boeing engines. They had a Boeing facility. I'm not very sure because I left that industry 25 years ago.
Okay.
Probably they've got an Airbus facility.
Yes,
right now,
yeah. Okay. So now, then you're based in the desert.
Mm-hmm.
You are then the engineer based in the UAE.
I was an engineer based out of Nairobi. I was the principal reliability engineer.
Where?
In Nairobi, Embakasi.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So all that time, you remember, at that time also we didn't have many graduate engineers.
Imagine.
So would you rather have your graduate engineers out there or have them at base involved into daily strategy making, daily execution? Right. So the company chose that we would be based in Nairobi not outside there.
What happens on year 5, Collins?
Year 5, I start wondering whether engineering was my thing.
Why? You're tired of Embakasi? The hangars, you're like,
it's like it was one of those times you start asking yourself, was this the right thing that I chose? Am I really an engineer?
You see, I like that because I asked you that now in 20, remember 5 minutes ago? You said no regrets then, but then at no regrets now. But after 5 years, you're like, hey, what was it? Had you got married?
I was just married.
You were just married?
I had my firstborn.
Okay.
Already.
So was it a money thing?
A bit of everything. Growing up.
Yes.
Ambition.
I like that. How old were we?
I was 29, 30.
My God, so you're still a youth.
30, 31, yeah.
You see, and there you are, you're like, okay, now we've got that familial responsibility, and you're like, yeah, okay. Mm-hmm. So you start getting, restless buttocks syndrome, as I like to call it.
Absolutely.
Then what happens?
Actually, what happens is this restlessness is born first by economic condition, first of all.
Yes.
Engineers by then, I would tell you, could I mention 12,000 shillings?
Yes.
Is what Kenya was paying me.
Hey, that's gross
an aeronautical engineer with a master's.
Can you imagine? Gross or net?
That was gross.
Oui. And then
the net was about 9K.
You're lucky there was no Shah Shift and all of the sundry.
We used to have very good medical support and everything. But what I wanted to say, by then, the recognition of engineers, secretaries are by then earning around 25,000, 30,000.
Get out.
Get in. Yeah. So these are the kind of frustrations that are happening to me. At that time, don't forget that Kenya is also a parastatal.
Which is true.
So it's earning better than the civil service.
Yes.
At the civil service, engineers were earning 5,600 shillings. So being at Kenyawis was definitely a good deal.
Let me ask you something. Was and obviously I've segued, ne? Then because now obviously that dynamic has been flipped on its head. Is it because of this engineering institute or whatever council or whatever it is, this body that told
the fight starts during my time. And part of us who left at that particular time actually fueled the growth and recognition of engineers.
Bas.
Now the Institute of the engineering whatever the board got involved, and engineers we had more and more engineers coming who are probably more restless than I was, and they got recognized. And I'm happy to say right now, I mean, either you give me this or I fly to the UAE, I get an equivalent job for a better pay.
There we go.
So we had to shape up.
Right.
And that's how that recognition you're talking about came about.
Right.
Yeah.
So, wow. So you're like, no, man, this 9,009 is ID. Because I beat up and I niko namtoi.
Right.
And this is, and the firstborn is, because you got 4 kids, ne?
Yes.
So the first one is a boy or girl, brother?
It's Claire.
And how's Claire doing?
Claire is actually a film producer. She she's doing well.
Very good.
I think she could do better, like all parents always wish, but she's okay.
Okay, she's here?
Yeah, she's back in Kenya. She did her studies in South Africa.
In SA?
In SA, yeah.
Okay. So, what happens then? So you're questioning yourself.
In this restlessness, I had a discussion with the MD. I had the privilege of knowing him.
Was that Ndegwa at that time?
That was Nyaga.
Joe Nyaga.
Yes,
the late.
The late Ambassador Joe Nyaga.
Yes.
I had the privilege of knowing him because when they came to buy the Airbuses, I was a student.
Yes.
And they didn't speak French. So I was their guide.
Wow.
So I got to know him. So I had this privilege of knowing him.
So you just walked into his office?
This 6, he used to come very early, like most of the executives, to the office. By 6, Nyaga used to be in office.
My God.
So I walked into his office. That day, I think I woke up very early. And I was in his office at 6, when he walked in. And he told me, yes. I told him, boss, I just think this is not my place. I've tried this engineering thing, and it's not working for me economically. And there's politics around, there's tribalism, and I'm a young man. I've never known tribalism in my life. Actually, I never knew about tribalism up till pretty late, after my 30s. Because, when you grow and mature in Europe, you are exempt from all these petty small arguments, and you stay there for 7 years, for God's sake. If you can't learn to be fair to everyone, whenever would you learn? Because in Europe, then we are Kenyans, we love each other. I really don't know whether that's a cue. So that's how it was. So I told him this thing is not working for me, and I'm going to resign. And somehow he knew some of my relatives, and he called them that evening.
Wow.
What's this young man talking about? So I had a hard time explaining it to my uncle.
Yes.
Achieng.
Yes.
The late Honorable Achieng, one of the Kapenguria Six.
Yes.
He was not very happy with me. And, my father traveled to Nairobi, and the whole issue was sorted when I said, no, I'm not going back. So for some time, I suffered rejection. You go to do those 7 years down there, and you quit a job just because you disagree with what's happening and what you're going through. And you're being told you're youth, and you're saying, no, I know exactly what I want, and this is not mine. So I faced that rejection, and I managed it, because shortly after leaving KQ, I got a job.
So, hold on. Let's be clear. You went to the MD of KQ then, Joe Nyaga's office, early in the morning, 6 a.m., and he told him, Chief, I said no. Him then, later on that day, he called your uncle, who's a very, very, very prominent Kenyan. He fought for the parents of this country.
Correct.
Your uncle then talks to your father and says, this guy, maybe he's been smoking Jaga. Now Jaga would be Bangi, if you're not aware. And your father gets on the midnight train to Georgia and comes from Dalapacho.
He was actually working by then, was he in Kisumu, Homa Bay.
Surely. He comes from south. He comes all the way to Nairobi.
Yes.
And these guys are the elders. You're the Gen Z of the time. And you've just got married. And you tell them no. That job, that was the one you quit, clearly it was there, because you are not pushed.
No.
The one that you are looking at, when you resigned, there was no job. There was no prospect.
No, I didn't have a prospect.
You were just tired.
I was just sick and tired.
Wow. So after how long? And they speak to you, but you still, the next day you did not go back.
As you do, as a respectful young man, you'd promise to think over it. And I thought over it for quite some time.
What is quite some time?
That night. I knew this was my thing. I didn't like that. Something else, it was not only economy. I talked about tribalism.
Yes.
And by then, being a parastatal, push yourself 40 years back, 35 years back in Kenya. It was really bad. We must appreciate things have improved over time. So there was also that element. So inside me, there was a rebellion. And I knew I could do better elsewhere for myself and my family.
It was basically, when you say elsewhere, it's anywhere but there.
Anywhere else but there.
Wow.
And probably not in this aeronautical thing.
Okay. So in this day and age, would you describe it, there's that word that is now used by this generation, it's called, it was a toxic workspace?
Yes.
Okay. How long then do you stay before you get that next job, and what was it?
3 weeks later.
My God, I know you are now. Were you a prayerful young man then?
I've always been very prayerful.
Very good. So we are praying to Sir God, give me anything.
Yeah, so...
What is the wife saying to you at that time?
She's not understanding.
Exactly, yes.
She's much younger than me. She's 5 years younger than me, 6 years younger than me. So at 32, she's probably 26. And also, well, she was working.
Yes.
Actually at, what do you call it? Karen Blixen.
There we go.
Yeah, so at least, well, she's got a job. She goes to work every day, and I stay home and try looking for a job. 3 weeks later, I get a job at Singer Sewing Machine Company. It was actually an ad in the papers. I applied.
You are one of those people. You really read the newspaper. Eh?
But let's also not forget, opportunities were bound.
Yes.
Yeah. By then I was a newspaper reader. I don't read them anymore.
Yes.
Because I think these are opinions. I watch a bit more. I listen much more. Reading is a bit of a problem. But I'm okay.
Very good. Because I was about to remind you that you're in Standard Group.
I know this.
Go ahead.
And Standard is multimedia. So it's electronic, digital, it's visual, it's everything. Thank you.
Yeah.
So I applied for this job at SSMC Inc., Singer Sewing Machine Incorporated. It was an American liaison office based here out of near Nyerere Road.
Wow.
Minet ICDC.
Yes.
And I took my application by hand. So I gave it to the receptionist, and I saw this gentleman at the reception and just walked out after politely handing in my application.
Yes.
I got there was no call. There were landlines,
Yes, there were landlines.
A letter.
Yes.
I went to GPO, and 3 days later I'd been called for an interview.
Right.
So I walked in. Now this is interesting, Edward.
Yes.
The guy asked me, it was that gentleman I found at the reception who was actually the regional manager for Africa.
Wow.
Guy asked me, but why did you bring the application by hand? Why didn't you post it?
Yes.
I said, well, this job is so important to me.
Yes.
I had to make sure the letter reached in good time.
Yes.
Because the deadline was not so fast. So I think that convinced him. Later, as we were doing the postmortem, he said that this guy looks like the kind of a go-getter that would go get something and ensure it happens and would not rely on. So that's a quality, according to him. By then, I think it is.
Very brilliant.
Now, there was this part of the interview where we had to type. And most people by then didn't know what a keyboard was.
Right.
Now, Europe.
Yes.
By then you do your own things. I'd already done some programming.
Right.
So again, I could type. Then he said, this guy can be multi.
Yes.
He can be applied in many facets of this business.
Indeed.
Then the French.
Oh, man.
Singer was selling in sub-Sahara Africa.
Right.
With businesses across the continent and having distributors across, right from Madagascar to Senegal. So, being in Kenya, and you do appreciate, there are few people who speak French, and there are even fewer that speak French well. So, they found an asset in this young man, and so they gave me this job without anything. I didn't do commerce, I didn't know sales.
Yes, because you see, but then you'd think, when you look at it, it's like, but this man was, the way you describe it, and I can imagine that boss who was sitting there. It's like, man, this is God's gift to Singer, because you're like made to measure.
And what's interesting,
in
the letter of offer, remember the 12K?
Yes.
86.
86,000.
Company car.
Hold on.
American Express.
Hold on. Aeronautical engineer Collins Oneko, is like, my tired is tired. 12,000 bob gross as at Kenya Airways. And then 3 weeks later, Singer, and of course you know them, are the Singer Sewing Machines still there, by the way? Bro?
Yeah, that time
the company still exists.
Represented in Kenya by Amido.
Yes, take bus.
Yeah.
I remember those ads by there.
Yeah.
And my mom had a Singer Sewing Machine.
Correct.
And then you then your salary gets bumped up by, let's do the math, 72,000 bob. He said 86 or 84?
Yeah, 86.
So 74,000 bob.
Overnight.
American Express card.
Company car.
KZD
115, red in color, Daihatsu. I remember.
Picture me bloody rolling.
And I moved from, by then, where was I staying, my friend? I was in Uhuru. I moved to Pangani.
Of course you did.
Progress.
Of course you did. Now, obviously the wife was relieved. We want to know, what did you tell the Zach? Your father?
Doubting Thomases, and they were like, let's wait this thing is going to go away, and he'll realize he doesn't know what he's doing.
The deal is too good to be true.
Again, maybe he's just being misled.
Yes.
You see, that's that element. Right. It doesn't mean there was mistrust. It's just that they were showing concern. They need, like any parent now, I feel what they were feeling by then. You want stability for your children.
Yes.
And so this is something that you come to appreciate later. But yes, by then I was the actor.
Yes.
I was the star.
Yes.
And nothing was going to stop me.
Right.
Yeah, and looking back now, that question is relevant now. No regrets.
What are we doing at Singer? I was aeronautical engineer.
I was a marketing executive.
Okay.
Which simply meant that I was assisting these regional managers.
Right.
In Nairobi, I told you it was a liaison office, so we had our dollar account at Citibank by then.
Yes.
And we were generating pro forma invoices for our distributors, providing support.
Yes.
Selling, but mainly providing support to our distributors. Amido was one in Kenya. I had a distributor in Madagascar. I had an Ethof in Ethiopia. I had distributors all over Africa. So he gave me the francophone part where he was having the challenges. And I must say I'm a quick learner. By then, probably a quicker learner than now. So I really got into the gist of this job. Learned the machine A to Z, the 15CH, the black machine. But don't forget I'm an engineer.
Yes.
I'm one of those people who believe that an engineer makes even a better salesman, especially if you're selling technical things.
Good one. In fact, I think Michael Joseph would probably attest to that and say, yes, indeed, true.
I believe.
Yes.
That's the way to go. Because you understand, behind this deck, there's technical stuff and electronic components. I understand it inside. And once I learn the product features and benefits, I get you. Sell it.
Indeed.
Because I would sell it to practically anyone, to a technical professional and to a mass market guy on the streets. Because I just have to adapt my language, position the product properly, and conclude the sale.
So then, obviously, that would make sense. If you look at then, because now that was the beginning of this journey that has led you to become a prominent so-and-so.
Absolutely, sir.
In terms of the vocation as of now.
Absolutely, sir.
But with your engineering background, we can then now understand where Zain checks in, right? And same with Telkom Kenya. All right. But now, how long are we at Singapore, brother?
This is about, was it 5 years again? 3?
Wow.
Between 3 to 5 years. Right. It's quite some time.
So in terms of loyalty, you've been a very loyal man as far as employment is concerned. You do give it a shot.
If you looked at my LinkedIn page, I've been...
No, I can see you've been places.
Yeah, I've been places.
Yeah, but also you're not exactly 13, but
yeah, that's exactly it. So with time I've moved.
Yes.
I normally stay in a business that I engage with or in for some time to understand how it works, contribute what I can. But I'm one of those people that would proudly walk in and say, I think I've done my bit before I'm told to do so.
I like that. Collins, we follow a generation where people prided themselves in having one employer for life.
Yes.
You remember? Kwa gazeti unaona ule jamaa ambaye anapatiwa wheelbarrow. Ule mwingine wasa. Remember those ones?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And then those plaques. Yes? What was your advice? Because remember, you're being listened to by various generations as we speak.
Yeah.
There are various generations now that actually, their philosophy is Rolling Stones gather no moss.
I get you.
All right? Like Mike, our producer there. Okay? In on Monday, by Saturday is found another job somewhere. Hapa alikuwa siku 5. Mwingine hata kukaa huko miezi 2 ama mwaka moja, that's a long time. What would be your advice to the generations of today, boss?
I would say restlessness is absolutely natural. But we have to manage this restlessness. I mean, if you given a job, my advice to the youth and even the elder ones who are still working or employed or in self-employment, kindly learn your job, give it time to appreciate you as you appreciate your role and as you develop in that role. And ideally, if you can work for 30 years in one business and each year contribute positively towards its growth and give it some value add, and then you are happy in that environment because it meets exactly your expectation and needs, please stay in that job. End of day, there's no big money, there's no small money. It's only how you manage yourself and how you manage. So if you're leaving a job for another simply because of money, it might just be the wrong thing that you're doing.
I like that, Colin. So that's for, it's called a longevity, that one.
Right.
But now in terms for somebody who's been exco and C-suite, for now the majority of your life,
yes,
with very, very big concerns. These are multinationals, man.
Yeah.
Some of them actually, indeed, I'm looking at there. It's global, yes? Look, in terms then of job satisfaction, what's the secret, bruv? Is there an elixir to one attaining JS?
I would say it's something elusive. It's exactly how you put yourself to the job, how you employ yourself to the job.
How have you been doing it, brother?
Come on.
Because I speak to you, I note your enthusiasm, and I'm like, this man doesn't get tired. You're in Malawi, Zambia, Nini. Hey, Achoki, are you not one of those people you go to the airport every day, you're like, man.
No.
I have to take off my shoes, my belt. Every day, Nini, ndege, scanner, airport, hotel food.
Currently, for example, what I'm doing is something that contributes towards impact.
I like that.
Has got impact on the mass market to my village mates across the entire Africa. And it has got an impact on climate, our environment. Ban manufacturing manufactures jikos, cook stoves, wood stoves, and charcoal stoves, and more recently even induction cookers. And all these stoves that we make actually save our environment that they are very efficient stoves that they emit less smoke and they burn more effectively, meaning the thermal efficiency is much higher than an open stove or a three-stone stove. And it creates a hell lot of savings for the users. The mamas who use them in the kitchens.
Right.
So look at this. Pocket, it's got an impact.
Yes.
Environment, it's got an impact. In terms of consumption of that particular fuel, in terms of deforestation, it reduces the rate of deforestation.
I like that. So you're a man with a mission and there's a cause.
There must be a cause. Thank you.
Vast.
Yeah.
Now, we want to get into the news. And then we asked you, Jeff asked you for a list. I'm shopping today for a list of songs, brother.
Yeah.
And amongst the songs, there was Lionel Richie, Stuck on You. Jody Watley, otherwise known as Shalamar with Friends.
Yes.
Celebration, Cool and the Gang.
Yeah.
And then Millie Jackson, If Loving You Was Wrong.
Then I don't want to be right.
I want us to start with one song, and I want us to take us back. Okay, what are you listening to of these four songs I've mentioned? Obviously, there's some that are not on this list. What are you listening to when you're either in France or coming back from France? Please don't tell me French music, bro. Of these four songs,
Lionel Richie.
Okay, Stuck on You.
Yeah.
Did you date an Odiero?
Pass. But I would say I was in France at the age of 9.
Yes.
I left at the age of 19. Yes. I left at the age of 26.
All right. So we're going to play you Lionel Richie, Stuck on You, after the news when we get by. Collins Oneko, man. If you've got a question, 0719-012-600, Spice FM KE. What's your story? What's your question? Ask them. All right. It's Transformational Thursday. Next.
Guys were camping either in schools or something. And some of this work had been in NPD, New Product Development, within Bern.
Right.
So when we were called upon if we could assist, make some few stoves to help the unfortunate people, we quickly stepped in, as we normally do, and we came up with these stoves. And we have got stoves right now for schools and institutions that would need them.
What is the difference, Collins? Is it obviously stoves are different because maybe somebody's thinking those old those traditional Jokali stoves that are made by these guys here at Machakos, zile za chuma mabati, whatever. Is it the stove or is it what's the charcoal that's different?
So let's break it down,
please.
You'd all relate again. Our listeners would relate to a 3-stone stove.
Yes.
Which is 3 stones, and then you got to.
Are you good at painting pictures? I know you are. Paint it.
I'll paint it.
Yeah.
3 stones. Then you can push the wood or the through the fire.
Indeed.
Then you go to blow,
Bas.
and then it lights up.
Yes.
Then you put your sufuria on top of the 3 stones.
Very nice.
Now just look at that. It's wasteful. Because air blows from all the sides, in between the stones, from the top, from the bottom, across, and you basically combust that piece of wood or that twig much faster than you ideally should. Fast forward, guys made improved cook stoves. Now these are the ones you see at Machakos.
So he's basically he's taking you through the evolutionary process.
Yeah.
This stove is the one that we used to see in Dala, in the Jikon.
That's it.
Yani, they have dug a hole somewhere.
Yes.
That's what we're talking.
That's it.
Very good.
Some homes,
yes,
unfortunately,
yes,
still have some of those traditional stoves. Then, of course, came the period when we got to make the ICS, what we call the improved cook stoves. Now, this is the like that's being made at
Machakos, yes.
Quite definitely, the combustion chamber is covered. Right. You can close, open it,
right,
and therefore it conserves and reduces the rate at which the burning happens.
Sharp.
Well, the fuel is being converted into,
yes,
that energy.
Yes.
Now, at Burn, we've perfected the art. May I say, we are the only vertically integrated Jiko manufacturing company in the world.
What does that mean?
Vertically integrated means we import steel and pass it through that process, manufacturing process, to the level here in Ruiru,
right,
where you get a finished stove of the highest quality compared to any world standard.
Good one.
With highest efficiency.
Sharp.
Meaning burning the least amount of fuel to do the job that you wanted done. So we pride ourselves as being the only vertical integrated company in. And all these things happen here in Ruiru.
Right.
We laser cut the steel.
Right.
All this is programmed, and it works to the precision of less than a millimeter.
Wow. So what does it burn? Briquettes ama kawaida charcoal?
Burns normal charcoal. We don't use briquettes, just normal charcoal.
Good one.
Normal wood. Twigs, actually. We encourage people to use twigs, not even branches.
Wacha.
Don't cut logs. Use twigs.
So you mean, hold on. So like I tell the Shama boy, you're the nanis that fall from the trees, the leaves. So obviously they're the twigs.
Yes, the twigs.
At hizo?
Yeah.
Give
me 3. 3 of them.
Are you serious?
I'll put into a wood stove.
Yes.
And I'll be able to cook a meal for the family and probably just close the chamber so that I don't withdraw that and just make sure I don't burn all the wood. It's absolutely economical.
How long have you been around?
Burn has been around for 12 years now.
Oh, good one.
Yeah. And most likely, you might have to take an interest into what is in your kitchen.
No.
You're not the right profile. But there, in each and every Kenyan home, yes, I think there should be a form of jikokoa or
yes, indeed, yes.
Or yeah.
No, I'm actually wanting to get one. How do you? What is your? How does one look it up right now?
Burn is www.burnstoves.com. I shall repeat.
Thank you.
www.
Most. As in be slow.
www.burnstoves, that is BURNSTOVS, burnstoves.com. Okay. That's our site.
You know, every time I have a guest like you, what my My enemy is time.
Wow.
Because we are fast forwarded to now. By the way, you can get those stoves online, or is there a shop somewhere?
Absolutely. We launched our e-commerce site, www.ecoa.com. That site should be having our e-commerce, and you can be able to buy from our platform.
Okay.
That's already been launched.
Is there a brick and mortar shop somewhere?
We work through distributors, through our B2B channel.
I see.
So we have distributors spread across, even in Burma, in Siaya, Homa Bay coast, and anyone interested being a distributor is absolutely free to call upon us.
You're in all countries in Africa?
Primarily, right now, we are in 6 countries in Africa. That's Kenya, Tanzania, Mozambique, DRC, and Nigeria. Soon, we have just opened Malawi. Next month, we are moving to Madagascar. And sooner or later, we should be in Zambia.
Collins Oneko, now you started off, let's remember this is engineer Collins Oneko. He's a master, a aeronautical engineer. But aside from your time at Zain and Telcom Kenya, your journey then begins at Singer, to be honest.
Correct.
In terms of you took to it like a fish to water. Like you said, you find that engineers are very good at when it comes to marketing and sales because they really break down a product.
Absolutely.
So the best know how to sell the damn thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I like that because that's very true.
Yeah.
That said, you are now global commercial director. What has been the pinnacle of your career thus far? And the downside was that one of, there we are, you got your restless feet syndrome at Kenya Airways. But then you were young. Then life has, you've had various experiences, Baba. Is this the pinnacle? Because you see, the sky is the limit.
Yeah.
But the thing about you, obviously you enjoy your job.
Absolutely.
But some say you can only tell your highlight when the sun is setting. But actually, that's an unfair question. When did you reach self-actualization?
I ain't there yet.
That is such an honest answer.
Very honest.
That is such an honest answer,
each day pushing
brother.
further for better. And our journeys have been long.
Yes.
And as you correctly said, there have been ups and downs.
Yes.
And as you go up, sometimes you try doing better so that you can cover for the downsides. So yeah, I've also, like everyone else, had my ups and downs. There are things I've struggled with in life that set me back.
Yes.
And there are many battles that I've overcome, either from a professional perspective or from a self-growth perspective, from a family perspective. So I say, I think each day brings its own challenges, but of course what I've gone through, what I've learned over time have been the best, elements that have made me absolutely prepared for this future. So talk about my pinnacle, I don't see things that way.
I like that.
Each time doing better, Kaizen.
I like that. The one thing that one would find ironic is that the discipline that comes from indiscipline. You tell a story when you talk about even there's the professional journey and there's the personal journey. And, when you and I were sitting down and we talk about, the day when you just decided, I'm done. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And, you're literally sitting in your house. Yeah. And it's a decision that you made to yourself. And that was it. How much has discipline been a steadfast in your life? The discipline that you got from indiscipline.
Could I say yes? Well put. So I would give an example, if you may.
Please, brother.
At the height of my career at Kenya Breweries, and soon after I moved to Celtel, which transformed into Zain.
Yes.
I started struggling with, if you may, alcoholism.
Yes.
And this went on for some time. May I tell you, if you got some quid in the bank and you got a good job, you become really what you call a functional alcoholic. People really don't know, because you wake up, probably you drive that car, it's air conditioned, and then you end up in the office not as puffy. And maybe you slept the 6 hours, but you chopped in a bit of the stuff for a bit too long. So I struggled with alcoholism for some time. But when it started affecting my relationships, both familial and external and professional, I think it reached a stage where I had to really sit with myself. I called myself
for a meeting.
And I was seated with this friend of mine who, in body, saw I was with him. But I was actually in this conference, meeting with myself.
I like the story, yes.
It was about 9 p.m. at night. And then, we'd been drinking the whole day. Next day, nowhere to go, no work. Because I was jobless by then. I just worked myself out of my last job. And I looked at my friend. He was like enjoying himself. So I told him, hey, Chief, starting tomorrow, this whole story is...
it's a wrap. I'm done.
It's done. So, I woke up the next morning. I left him there. He went
in your living room?
In my living room, actually.
Yes.
And the next morning when I woke up, he was still at it. Of course he had slept at some stage, but he had replenished the supplies. So, a very difficult moment. Do I start it now, or do I tell this guy, just get out of my house? Long story short, the decision was made.
There and then.
And I had made my decision and I've never looked back. That was the last time I tasted alcohol, and that's over 11 years ago.
I like that, because I remember when we were discussing that story. So and everyone's journey is different. And clearly, like we said, this is not a pulpit. Do interventions work?
Interventions of what? Religious, spiritual?
No, sorry. You see, like now, interventions when it comes to in your opinion, drug and alcohol abuse. Do they work?
You meaning people coming to talk to you, coaching you, mentoring you?
Yes. No. You see, that clearly happens once you're maybe in a center. I'm talking about people coming to tell you see, like that decision that you made the previous night, then you went to sleep. You made the decision.
I made that decision.
If they came and sat you down in the house and told you, Jakababa, we think you should do 1, 2, 3, do you think it would have worked?
Actually, I sent most of those people out.
Thank you.
I'm very forthright, and I just told them, this is not that space. Is there something I've ever come to ask you for? And so the rest, you can imagine all that story, how that story would end. So interventions somehow go to your subconscious. Probably then that awakens you at some stage. But when people are telling you, so long as you don't believe that this thing isn't working, the decision, and I always say this thing, it starts with you. Look at my WhatsApp status, you'll find it starts with you.
Yes.
Facebook, it starts with you. Profile pic, it starts with you. Everything starts with you. You need to make that decision. You need to make that decision not to keep on suffering in a job which is toxic. It will kill you slowly. Thank me later. You need to make a decision when you are into these other habits and the addictions of many types. Please believe me. So it's an individual. It's an internal decision. And there are people who would help support that, quite definitely. I've got a sister and a brother who supported me through this. But at the point of making that decision, it was me alone with the vice that was facing me.
Collins, so people like you and I.
Yes.
And when we talk about our stories and these journeys, for example, I'm like, wow, it was a ride. But, you can't dwell on the regrets. Because life's a journey. So, the rear view mirror is the rear view mirror for a reason. And the windscreen is that size also for a reason. In retrospect, when one looks at that journey, what advice do you now give people when it comes to those moments when you are literally, you see yourself? Because there are people who are listening to you right now. And life is hard, to tell. And they are that fork in the road.
Absolutely.
Due to Sakoina, what should one do? And of course, you're not God. Neither you, Jesus. But I need your advice. They're listening. We're at the fork, man. You decide on that day, you know what, if I keep on going straight, either health, journey physically, or mentally, or financially, I'm doomed. Emotionally, I'm doomed I'm doomed to disaster. Somebody who's now facing that struggle right now, what are you telling them, dude?
Call that meeting with yourself. Once you call that meeting with yourself, make the decision. The best way normally to overcome such is to announce your decision.
So you have a support system.
Yes, so that immediately you've got a support system and that you have people that will adopt you in your new life. Let's not forget the other life is also, I wouldn't say, one thing, most people talk in retrospect and say, what the hell was so bad and that and that. Well, there were a few bad things. But I did great and even greater things even during that period. If you look at that CV, there were things I was doing.
Yes.
We launched
you
Senator.
Yes.
We launched I did launch Senator.
Yes.
Keg.
Yes.
Huge success, great contribution to KBL up till today.
Yes.
I made that route to market.
No, I saw even you, because even in terms for the region, I'm talking about the Lake Basin.
Absolutely.
There's that, it is a photo that is famous. We have the boss at that time. I'm talking about number 4.
Get it?
Yes, Kidata having a
yes, and we sent also a whole case to Obama in the US.
Oh, wow.
With my signature. Senator, when they started bottling it.
Yes.
Now, talking about that, I created jobs through KBL, of course, and through this program.
Yes.
I shifted it from the traditional distribution channels of bars and distributors to creating young dealers and a special route to market. If you remember, we used to have chokoras even in city center around Ronald Ngala, around that place.
Sharp.
Luthuli Avenue. Tom. We cleaned that place. The mass market got a better, more potent alternative drink. Now, look at that. All these things were happening when I was doing my internal my internal struggle.
Indeed.
So there were many good things that we did, but there were some bad things that I did too.
Right.
So coming back, you have to appreciate that it's a journey, it's part of life. And now, when if I need to advise somebody, so get that support system working, first have that meeting with yourself, inform publicly people that you need to, and if you like, paint it, put it in Facebook out there, or Instagram, depending on which social media, just say, I've declared from today on this is this. Now, that creates, that support group, but also those people who try bringing you back to order in case they see something that might just help you and believe in yourself and your choice. It'll just fall into place. Actually, my advice to people, there are only 5 hard days from that decision. For smoke, it's 3 days. For alcohol, about 5 days.
Day 1 to 5.
Day 1 to 5.
Now you say it's 3 days.
3 days. After the third day, you should normally.
That one I've tried, my friend.
I've succeeded too.
Congo, I've succeeded.
Excellent.
But cigara, aye, chief.
Well, my cigar story was different.
Hey.
I actually was admitted at Nairobi Hospital
at
one time for something absolutely not connected to cigarra.
Right.
And that was about 2 years ago.
Right.
Just as soon after I joined BAN.
Right.
So I went for that. I went for hospitalization, and then I was inpatient.
Wow.
I was inpatient for about 8 days.
Yeah.
And again, I called myself to that meeting.
Right.
Can you imagine the jacket which was in the wardrobe in my hospital room?
There was cigarettes.
There were 2 packets, a Benson and I think Embassy.
Yes.
And I had that room, so temptation to smoke at the window. And
I used to do that when I was in hospital. Yeah.
Get it?
Yeah.
So I once again called myself. The first 3 days were very tough, in that I was very sick. So even thinking of the smoke wasn't.
Of course, yes.
Okay, but now when I started feeling better and starting to have that urge, I called myself to that meeting again. And I said, you've been in this hospital for 3-4 days.
Yes.
You have not smoked. Why would you leave this hospital
smoking?
And what are those packets of cigarettes doing in your jacket? So I'm not wishing that anyone has to be hospitalized first to walk out of it. It simply illustrates that you can call yourself to that meeting and make that important decision.
You said, Kolo, you've got to come back. But before you go.
Yes, sir.
What?
Interesting.
I love the Listen, brother. So you're still somebody who's at the sharp end of the game, man. But in this day and age and in this economy, boss, in fact, I know there'll be some people who are asking, hey, this guy had 86 Gs then. Hata saizi hata hiyo nikipata sitaiwacha. Unaelewa? Because times are hard. How do you motivate people to keep positive? That's number one. And then number two, because of the uncertainty with the state of our union, I don't know if it's a global thing in terms of, we say where there's no recession here, but, businesses are closing down. Is it, your hobbies are dairy farming, and but that's also business.
It is.
Is a hustle important? I need, I want to know that from senior corporates. Because, where do you find the time? Number one. But now you're talking, not obviously being a senior corporate, that's obviously the sharp end of the pencil. So not everyone is one. But in terms of us people, we're called the ground troops. Is that critical?
Yeah, so there's a set of words I use, 2 words. Ruthless focus.
Come on.
So wherever you sit, at whatever level that you are at in life, please focus ruthlessly at what you want to achieve. First of all, paint that picture. What do you want to be? What do you want to be? Once that's clear, define your path to where you'd like to be, and define who you need to surround you and what habits you need to drop. That helps. And let's not forget, if you do one good thing towards that goal, one good thing a day, in 365 days, you'd have done 365 different additional value add stuff on your way to that goal.
Nice one.
Some of us are capable of doing 3 good things in one day.
Sharp.
Towards that particular vision. Some of us can do it half of that what he defined he wants to achieve per day.
Sharp.
And keep on chipping off that rock each day towards what you want to achieve.
Sharp.
Distractions will come, but that ruthless focus will help you.
I like that.
On the second aspect, I personally feel it's times are hard for everyone. If you had a figure X and the tax exposure goes up from 30 to 35%, and there's a levy or a tax that comes to chop off that, end of day, you are earning like X, you'd earn X minus some amount. So terms are hard for everyone.
Yes.
But it's harder definitely for others.
Right.
Now, what's my advice to people? For those who are salaried, salary is good. You look forward to something end of each month. But imagine that you might just wake up to a new regime in the US and there are decisions which are made which are beyond you. You said is no more, and you got no job. I'm not talking about the 90-day, window. We hope things are going to happen.
Bas.
So tomorrow you might just not have a job.
Bas.
So start creating now and tomorrow. For some of us who don't have it, just start doing it tomorrow.
Bas.
A side hustle. It could be packaging njugu, groundnuts, and that you supply 3 kiosks.
So sorry to interrupt you, because now you're preaching. Now that to side hustle, brother. Is it something that you're passionate about, something that you love, or just something that yuko kila mtu anafungua duka ya kuuza tokens. Hiyo ndio nitafanya kwa sababu niko na pesa X.
Excellent.
Ama is it something that, it's a side hustle, but I wake up in the morning? Because yours clearly, I can tell because I know the kind of person that you are. This is something that you love to do.
I love dairy farming. So the first thing you got to realize is that if you ever get to identify your passion, it could be football, it could be art, it could be whatever it is, hairdressing, cosmetics, it could be anything. Identify what you do effortlessly. That would be your passion. You do it effortlessly without having to put a lot of effort. Start doing that. It could be a lady and you just like dreading hair or making hair. Start doing it on your neighbor and definitely they'll give you some 200 bob. And she'll talk to the next person, who'll talk to the next and the 10th person, and then 200 shillings becomes 2,000. So when you're doing something you're so passionate about, you don't feel like you're working. Like what I'm thinking of Ed Quach. The guy has been in radio, he's been in media, and looking at you even in studio, I feel you're just in your element. I mean, there's no stress.
No.
Now, identify something like that, either as the mainstay or as a hobby. Number 2, spread your portfolio. Everybody's talking about MMF right now. Safaricom just gave us this possibility of saving 20, 30, save even that 20 shillings daily in that MMF. Thank me after 5 years.
Right.
Look at that net number at the bottom.
Right.
So if you had that hairdress, you've got this MMF. You could go to Zimele or the other site on, but the Safaricom just at your handset. Go for that. Then there's this craze called Forex that the young people are now doing. Do you have the talent or don't you have it? Would you like to do it? Wouldn't you like to do it? There's crypto. And then there are things like writing. Some of us can write, some of us cannot write. Some of us can write music and even give it to Bien. Why wouldn't you do that?
Right.
And then create something good. And if it goes... If it makes that music, you'd earn something. So look around. Look at first what you do effortlessly that you can monetize. 2, there are standard portfolios. And there are people. I'm not an expert. I'm not a wealth expert. Get to know what these wealth experts are saying and what they are advising people. And corroborate what they are saying, telling you with some people who seemingly have made something out of their lives. They will most likely just encourage you because they know you are on the right path.
I like that.
So if you put all your eggs in one basket, you only have to blame yourself if you find that the basket doesn't have eggs and has got some yolk.
Brother, I know you are, especially, on the African stage, you're a bit busy. You've said what it is you guys are doing. And, we have been looking for you for a few weeks. And Thank you. You made the time today. We're not done. Got to do a part 2, boss.
My pleasure. This is my passion too.
You know, we are going to do a part 2. You spoke about writing. Collins, one day you will, we've got to, because you're also somebody who gives back to society. So you seem like someone who's very big when it comes to CSR. But speaking of giving back, you've got to give us back also your life's journey. So we're getting to that age. So in about 20 years or so, we're going to put pen to paper. And you're going to publish. And then this book is going to come to a bookshop near you. Have you thought of this? Very good. What is the title?
Who the Man Was.
I love this nigga.
Who the Man Was. Because at one time I sat with a publisher.
Yeah.
Then he asked me, who are you?
Pass.
Collins, who are you? Struggled, and he told me, this is the definition of who you are.
Come on.
And I'm into this publishing business.
Yeah,
I'm not into selling like 100 copies. I would like to do 100,000 million plus.
Come on.
When you look back, define who you are now, right. And do you have a story to tell? All of us have a story to tell.
Yes.
But is it compelling? That's when I came with the title, Who the Man Was. So I position myself into the future, then I look back. So you have to also to wait for a moment for you to be able to release this book. Yes. Don't think that I've not been working on it. I have been working on it.
Yeah. Twist.
You put 20 years, I was wondering, that would be probably the third version, and we are not all lucky like Baba to see those ages,
Oh man, what a story.
Yeah, so Who the Man Was, that's the title. I don't know whether it will be read posthumously or Who the Man Was, because there might be certain details that might also disturb us, a few people.
Indeed.
Because I like challenging the status quo.
I like that.
Yeah.
Listen, bruv, before we do the outro, there's a Kenny Rogers lady, Cool and the Gang celebration, Shalamar friends, and don't forget Millie Jackson.
Yeah.
If loving you is wrong, I don't want to be right. Now as Collins, we have found equilibrium. I like the way he was honest, not self-actualization. We're still working on that, but there's balance now in life.
Absolutely.
What are we listening to, Baba? Because you now, you literally live at the airport, not as an aeronautical engineer, now as a passenger, frequent flyer miles, going from basically in the lounge,
right,
or in the terminal, so to speak.
Correct, sir.
What are you listening to on your 2 pods, brother? Of those 4 songs, and why?
And for this particular time, I'd like to dedicate it to Sally, Lady.
I was waiting for that one.
That's it.
I had a lunch with them, and it's so refreshing to see people who love each other but are still in love, even at this our ripe age. Notice I didn't use the word old.
Who grows old in this world? Come on.
Go on, brother. Sorry. To Sally.
Yeah.
Which song?
Lady by Kenny Rogers.
Oh my God. And the message is obviously to Sally.
Yeah.
Lady by Kenny Rogers. There's another sentence I'm waiting you to say there.
And dedicating to you this song because what we've seen is only the tip of the iceberg. Age is but a number, and we are only halfway through, so the journey is still long, counting on to your support.
He is now currently the Global Commercial Director at Burn Manufacturing, LLC. A man whose journey, man. You can't wait to read. I definitely can't wait to read. Who the Man Was.
Who the Man Was.
My brother.